August 2022, Gill and I bought a small rundown cottage in England. To get to the cottage, you need to walk down a little lane. And as you can see, even on a sunny English day, the front of the cottage looks unloved. First job is the lucky horseshoe. As you walk into the front yard, you see lots of weeds there that need to be cleaned up, and as you go in through the front door, it's clear from the smell the place has been locked up for a long time. It's also clear that the house was once very much loved and looked after. The only challenge here seems to be that over the last few years the maintenance became too much for the previous owner. Just looking in the living room here, you can see an open fire. That's the main and only source of heating in the house. And you can see that there's work to be done on the walls in the living room and the carpet. What you see here is the dining room, work to be done, and outside conservatory. Definitely a little problem with damp there. As you come to the kitchen's lovely and bright yellow colour, and you have a 360 view looking out through the garden into the garden. And for those people that aren't familiar with English houses, this kitchen is a fairly good size. Jill's looking forward to cooking there. Not quite yet though. From this bedroom view, you can see that it looks like I'm a giant. Actually, I'm not. Just the ceiling's very low. The decor is pink. It doesn't quite suit me, it doesn't suit Jill, but we can fix that with a coat of paint. And here we are again, 360 view of the bedroom. Wonderful picture of the fireplace there. And low windows and some wallpaper that needs stripping. Bathroom's also a project. There's a good sized bath and a toilet, but not quite to our liking, so those will be changed. In the corner of the bedroom and the living room, there's a significant amount of damp. When you go outside, the reason is very clear. You can see on the outside wall a lot of black moss coming from top to bottom. That's because the rain gutter hadn't been cleaned for more than 20 years. I cleaned the rain gutter and immediately the water started going down the rain gutter instead of running down the side of the house. So that's one job done. The small conservatory on the side of the house needs to be replaced because it's currently rotten. It'll be lovely when it's finished. Now you can see the main reason we bought the house. The garden, by English standards, is massive. We talk about more than 120 feet long and 60 feet wide. In August 2022, Jill and I returned to the UK for 2 weeks, where we were joined by our son William. Without William's help, we wouldn't have achieved anywhere near as much as we did. I have no prior experience of house renovation, so I decided that the best place to start was the living room, and the first job to do was to strip off the wallpaper. This was a thankless task that William spent hours and hours working on. Unfortunately, as I've just mentioned, I have no prior experience, so sooner or later, as William was doing this, it became clear that the effort invested wasn't really returned. Because looking at the wall here on the left hand side, you can see grey. The grey is actually damp. The wall in the corner is completely damp, and when we went to look at things in more detail, we found out the plaster had actually come away from the stone wall behind. There was no other answer to it than to go ahead and start to strip the old plaster away from the stone wall. This in itself was a challenging job because some areas came away very easily, others were much more difficult. One of the future steps is, once the wall is dried, is to find an expert in lime plastering. The lime plastering is a very special skill that very few people have in the UK these days, but to find a lime plaster expert so that he or she can come in and reinstate the wall. If you use conventional plaster on a wall like this, eventually you'll damage the wall because it's unable to breathe. At the end of every day, it's important to do a clear up. The clear up was done. Everything was shoveled away and swept away. And after the clear up, I seem to remember that William and I had more than a couple of very good cold beers to celebrate the hard work. next day we came in and tackled the cleanup. There were years worth of grime on the doors, on the walls, on the floors, so William immediately took the carpets out and we started scrubbing and cleaning. This was, strangely enough, a very rewarding job. It took us a long time, but in the end it was worth it. It was almost to the point where Jill came in and said, "This is good. Still definitely not up to the standard to live in, but a major step forward." And we were very proud of the work. After the dining room was done, we then moved on to the kitchen. Kitchen floor was very satisfying. As you can see here, the floor had been covered by some cabinets. The cabinets were taken away and lots of dirt underneath. It was a fun job. It was a long job with lots of bleach, lots of chemical, but in the end, I'm very pleased of the result. I wish I could move as fast as that in real life. Sadly, when you get to my age, it's not that easy anymore. William, on the other hand, he can do it, particularly if he's chasing after a beer. This is the second cleanup on the kitchen floor. Had to be done over 2 days because the first one was so bad. We got rid of most of the dirt, let things dry, and came back the next day. By the time we were finished, it's almost like new. Put the fridge back, take the dirty soapy water away with me, and then come back and finally get rid of my own footprints. Then it was onto the kitchen door. Did this all by myself, without the supervision of William. I was pleased with the result, but I seem to remember that he wasn't. It was good enough for me, particularly when I now have decided together with Jill that this door is going to be taken down and removed, as is the wall. And then we started on the fun part. For those people that think that England is full of rain, mist and fog, you can see from the sky here that it's not always the case. We were very fortunate to have almost two great weeks of perfect weather, so that gave us the chance to get in there and start the massive cleanup. We decided to clean up the growth that was close to the house first. There was ivy growing up the side of the house. That's very dangerous for construction because the ivy burrows itself into the mortar and undermines the strength. So we worked there, we cleaned things up. What you see here is a garden that hasn't been touched for 20 years. We know for sure that it used to be very spectacular because we've seen pictures from the previous owner of his mother, I think 50 years ago, with flowers and fruit trees. Behind this hedge that we're cutting now, or inside of this hedge, there's actually an apple tree. We don't know whether it's alive or dead at that point. It's been overgrown for so many years. But by the time we finished, it was able to see the light again. Here we are, cleaning up the tools for the day, picking everything up, and getting ready for the drive home. When I say home, at the moment, or at that time, we couldn't live in the house because there were no services, no electricity. But it's our plan, as soon as we get back to the UK, to move in. Raking, so much work to do. And we had a very good result at the end. Strimming was fun, or the weed eating was fun. It's a great use of battery tools. I never used to be a big fan of battery tools, but now I've realized that they have so much power and so much maneuverability, and they're so much quieter compared to gas-driven ones, that it's definitely worth having them. I wish I was as good with the camera as William is, but by the time we're finished, really proud of the result. These are the main gates into the backyard. It was impossible to open them because of the growth that had happened over the last few years. But by the time we'd finished for the day, it was possible to open the gates, get in and get out, and to finally have good access to the property. And now for the twist I mentioned at the start of the video. The more observant people will notice the lack of hair. Lack of hair should give you a clue as to what my challenge is. We left the UK in August, life was on a high. By the time we got to the first week in November, we'd reached an all-time low. Unbeknown to me, over the last few years, I've had a massive tumour growing inside of my body. I went to the doctors at the end of October because I had a small cough. She did an x-ray and she found a 4-inch tumour sitting between my heart and my lungs. From that point until the beginning of March, there was some toing and froing to determine what was causing the tumour. Eventually, the 1st of March, I was diagnosed with cancer and started chemotherapy. Chemotherapy finished at the end of August. I'm now waiting for the final scan results. If the scan results are okay, we're heading back to Europe and hopefully starting the renovation. However, and this is the big however, cancer does terrible things to your body. Chemotherapy does things that are equally bad. As of today, I'm suffering from side effects. I find it very hard to walk, my joints ache, my muscles have lost all strength. I have a condition called neuropathy. Neuropathy is a side effect of cancer that people don't talk about very often, but it's truly invasive all of the time. It means that you have tingling in your fingers, tingling in your toes. It's like having pins and needles the whole time. And one of the side effects for me is that I can't grip anything. I can't hold a nail, I can't hold a screw. It's difficult to hold a pen to write. It's difficult to hold a hammer. So these constraints make it very difficult to start the renovation on the property. Having said that, we're positive. We'll be back in the property by the middle of October, and I then will start to create some more videos. I need a favor. The favor I need is that you share this video, that you share it far, you share it wide. It's our intention to use this channel to share the great progress that we're going to make on the cottage, and also to share a little bit of the progress that I'm making with my cancer recovery. If you can do that, I will be eternally grateful, because the more people that know about our renovation, the happier it makes me, and the more people that know about how cancer can be cured, that helps other people. So thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and please see me again in the next video, and I'm sure I'll be smiling.